Hey Hunters, Halo Zoo here with a special video for D&D 5.5. So for those who don't know, this is just a D&D project I made where I took all of 5e D&D and edited it to basically kind of bring back some customization and options, as well as kind of build back up to what I think is a better system. This is... And keep in mind, this is designed by me, to an extent for me, though I think a lot of changes people will appreciate, and it's one of the things where there will be changes that not everyone would make. I know for this one in particular, there's a big change from what other people would do, which I actually have a reason for going a different direction with it, but we are going to look at the fighter. This is the first one I did. It is one of only 2 of the base 12 classes getting a full overhaul, so to speak, where basically a lot of what they used to have and used to be big features are just changed entirely to be different. As for where you can get this stuff when it's fully done, I don't know, have a release date for this. It's when it's done, but over on the Subdis server, I will be doing stuff with D&D 5.5, so do expect that. However, without further ado, let's begin by looking at the progression chart. Okay, so it's nothing fancy, but here's levels 1 through 20, proficiency bonus increases, and first and foremost, you will notice that at the levels you would normally get your base ability score increases, there's not one listed. This is just a general change that basically, if you get ability score, the ability score increases are moved over to just part of leveling. And every 4 levels, so 4, 8, 12, 16, and 19, just like for pretty much every class in the game, you get an ability score increase, though it now cares about total level, not class level, so this should help with multi-classing if you're going down that route. However, that's entirely rework, so don't worry about that. That's for another day. Also, another thing is your archetype and fighting style, you will unlock at first level. Archetypes will always give 6 features, and fighting styles and pact boons will now give 3 features. So, for fighter, first and foremost, the multiple extra attacks you used to get, I think at 11 and 17 maybe or something, or maybe it was 19, I don't remember, or 20th, but there were 2 extra attacks that you got in addition to the normal one. Those have been cut. Also, the additional ability score increases at, I believe, 6 and 10? No, not 6 and 10. 6 and 14, I think. You got a extra ability score increase. Those are also gone. Basically, those are just gone. Also, as an additional aside, feats are now baseline. You get them whenever you get ability score increase, but they no longer increase ability scores, but that's, once again, stuff for another time. So, what replaced it? Well, spoiler alert, champion archetype is gone. And several of its features actually got taken by base fighter. So you're going to see that as basically everything that they got that champion had that wasn't improved critical is now just part of all fighters. And then Cavalier was promoted to be the archetype in place of champion. So it's now Cavalier, Battlemaster, and Eldritch Blade, which is just slightly renamed Eldritch Knight. Those are the 3 base archetypes you have. So anyway, at first level, you have your martial archetype, fighting style 1 initiate. That's just fancy name for, hey, you get the first feature of your fighting style. That's it. Second wind, and you'll notice a 1 there. So basically just your archetypes now at first level. Then second level, still get action surge as per usual. Third level, you get a feature for your archetype. That's was a level you got your archetype, but now you get that at first. But you get a feature at third as well. And fighting style 2 initiate. So basically, you get a second fighting style if you're just fighter in general. That's also the only time something like a fighting style, pact boon, or archetype comes at a later level, but it's your second fighting style, so I didn't count it. Fourth level, that's an ability score increase, so you don't in a feat, so you don't get anything. Fifth level, you get your extra attack. Business as usual. Sixth level. Okay, so this is where you get the fighting style 1 adept feature, which is the second feature. So, you know, if you got, and it's always the first one, so you do have to keep in mind what your first and second fighting style is, because it does matter to when you get their extra features. But basically the idea is for most of the game, your fighting style 1 is your main style, and then your 2 is a secondary style that you have that you can, that's either like for a secondary weapon or builds on your abilities and can stack with your main one. But it's up to you. Like, you could potentially go with dueling and archery, so it's like, you know, you switch between like a hand crossbow and a rapier or something like that. It's really up to you. You also get Remarkable Athlete, which is finally a baseline feature that's not about attacking and fighting on fighter. Yeah, nothing remarkable, even though it says remarkable, but it's an additional feature that you get, and it's there. So, up next we have my keyboard dying. There we go. Okay, 7th level, you get an archetype feature, which I think it might be your utility feature. I don't remember off the top of my head. I may have made this, but I don't remember stuff off the top of my head. 8th level, ability score increase in feat. 9th level, Indomitable. First one. Yeah, so now you're better at saving throws, potentially. Then, at 10th level, you get Fighting Style 2's Adept's feature. So, now you get the second feature of the second archetype, which is actually your last feature for that fighting style. Then, at level 11, you have another archetype feature, and you now get a second action surge at 11th level rather than later. This was done to give base fighter some extra scaling, and because it kind of felt like the second action surge came way late. And it also kind of makes up for the fact that you lost fighting style, or not fighting style, the extra attacks and extra ability score increases. 12th level, ability score increase in feats. 13, second use of Indomitable is here. That may have been moved off, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I made this the other day. This isn't, I didn't just make this, so that's why I'm kind of confused on certain things. Also, don't mess with fighter too much anyway. Level 14, Fighting Style 1 Master feature, which is the ultimate feature of your fighting style, and that is the last fighting style feature you get because I wanted it to be very much like you have a primary fighting style and a secondary fighting style. Also, at 14th level, you now have additional uses of Second Wind. This is another addition to kind of, make up for the fact you don't get as many ability score increases, and also because I'm like, this is a one use per short rest feature. I thought it'd be kind of interesting to make it where, oh yeah, these charge-based features now all have, like these limited use features all have extra charges later as you progress. So that was kind of a thing tossed in to make it more like Action Surge and Indomitable, though you only get 2. 15th level is an Archetype feature. 16th, ability score increase and a feat, so nothing there. 17th level, you now have 3 uses of Action Surge and Indomitable. Don't know why I put them at the same level, but they're there. 18th level, you get Survivor from Champion, so now you're harder to kill at 18th level. And then 19th is the last ability score increase in feats. And 20th level, you now have your final Archetype feature and the new Weapon Mastery feature, which is just, hey, you're better with weapons now. So anyway, that is how fighter progression works. I shouldn't press that. Okay. Let's head over to the core features to see what the core features are. Okay, HP. Okay, quick notes on starting HP. Starting HP has changed to be add your con modifier to add your con score. And if something says plus con or using just a stat like con or strength or whatever, that means you just add the modifier. Prof means proficiency bonus, so there's a lot of shorthand here, but it's elegant. So only change to HP is starting HP is 10 plus con score rather than 10 plus con mod, but that is an overall change that starting HP is now based off your con score. And keep in mind, that is retroactive, so if your con score increases, your HP increases by that amount. So if you increase it by 2, you get 2 extra HP, in addition to the retroactive con bonus modifier for levels beyond first. So that's how it is. Also, default is now static HP because you should have been using that by default anyway. Proficiencies, unchanged. Still get strength and con saves. No tools. Simple martial weapons. All the armors. And you still get pick 2 of the same skills of acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, and survival. Then your features, martial archetype. Most of the features are the same as they were. With the changes of martial archetype, you get at first level, and then at 3rd, 7th, 10th, 15th, and 20th, you get an additional feature from that archetype. First fighting style at level 1. The choices are now different. We have archery, dueling, great weapon, long arm, protection, 2-weapon, defense, blind fighting, brawler, superior technique, and thrown weapon. And there's actually... there's one more, but that was also added, though it's kind of a alteration on others, but you will notice that there are things changed around as a result of that last fighting style, which basically the idea is you get literally all but one fighting style as a choice on fighter, but there's another that you can potentially get. So, first level you also get Second Wind. Same as it was. Regain it with short or long rest before using again. 14th level, you can use it twice now. Second level, Action Surge. Works the same as it did, except at 11th level, you can use it twice. And 17th, you get it 3 times. 3rd level is a new feature with the 2nd fighting style. So it also says you have access to, so it's basically whatever you could choose for your 1st level fighting style, you can choose for your 2nd level fighting style or 3rd level fighting style. Extra attack, you take the attack action, make 2 attacks instead of just 1. Works as it did before. Remarkable athlete, you add half your proficiency to any con strength or dexterity check that doesn't already add your proficiency bonus, and you can also add your strength/dexterity plus your proficiency bonus to the distance and height of jumps you make. So basically, if you try to long jump or high jump, you add your proficiency bonus plus your strength or dexterity modifier, your choice, to the distance/height of the jump. And that's at 6th level now. 9th level, you have Indomitable still. It works pretty much the same as it did before. Survivor, start of your turn if you have at least 1 HP and are bloodied. Basically, below half health is what bloodied means. That is a term returning from 4th edition because it's just nice terminology. It's nice to have that sometimes. And then you regain 5+ con HP. And if for whatever reason your con modifier is negative, then you don't add it. And con means constitution, by the way. 20th level, weapon mastery. You gain expertise with all weapons you're proficient with, and add your proficiency bonus to all weapon damage rolls. So this is sort of like the ultimate feature. You're the master of weapons, and you're just so good with them that you can't miss with them hardly, and are even deadlier with them than normal. So let's head over to the base archetypes. We'll look at the fighting styles later. So here is Cavalier. So you might immediately notice something. So yeah, quick statement on combat superiority. It is not baseline. I considered it for a moment and then quickly decided that it's probably better for archetypes like Arcane Archer and the Eldritch Knights to not have combat superiority and instead have their own feature that goes a different direction. Also keep in mind that all of this is work in progress. Things may be changed, but that's for future stuff. So Cavalier, now base archetype because Champion got destroyed, and I decided that Cavalier just made more sense as a base archetype because it's sort of like, okay, you're the ultimate tank character, and I felt like that fit better compared to other classes. So that's just the way it is sometimes. So first level, you get bonus proficiency, combat superiority, and unwavering mark. So Cavalier ended up getting combat superiority as part of the semi-baselining of it. However, so it works as similar to how it did. You gain a pool of superiority dice that can be used to activate maneuvers. Number of dice is shown in SD column, while the number of maneuvers you know is in the maneuvers column, which without the vowels. If it requires the target to make a saving throw, DC is 8 plus prof plus strength or dex, your choice. You can only use 1 maneuver per turn now. That is a change to basically stop you from stacking them so much. And you regain any expended SD with short or long rest. They begin as D6s now, but they become D8s at 5th level, D10s at 11th, and D12s at 17th. So they now scale like cantrips do in size, and they start slightly smaller, but that is partly because you actually start with them now. So it kind of warranted some changing to the scaling, and you scale with cantrips now, so it makes sense. And then third level was the utility feature. That was it. Couldn't remember. So you'll notice that they start with one less superiority dice than Battlemasters know, and way fewer maneuvers learned. Because whenever they learn new maneuvers, you only learn one, and you only start with 2 rather than 3. This is a conscious choice to kind of make it where Battlemaster, spoiler alert, still has the best version of combat superiority, but other archetypes get it now. So it's sort of like, you know, like most of you fighters get it now, but Battlemaster is still going to have the best version of combat superiority compared to other archetypes. You also get Unwavering Mark. So whenever you target a creature with a melee weapon attack, you can have them marked by this feature till the end of your next turn. And marked actually returns as a term as well from 4th edition. Though it's just a term like someone has you marked and they... And different marks can have different effects, but this one now just gives -3 on attack rolls against creatures other than you. And it ends early if another marks it or you're incapacitated or dead. So I'm going to add that to... say another creature marks it. And then, if a creature marked by you deals damage to a creature other than you while in your melee weapon's reach, you can make a special attack as a reaction. You add +1 d6 to the attack roll and +2 d6 to the damage roll of this attack. So this is changed, so it's basically an upgraded basic attack now. And whenever your superiority dice increase in size, the size of this attack's extra dice also increase to that size. You can use it con times, regaining all uses with a long rest. So basically, at 5th level, you add +1 d8 to the attack, 2 d8 to damage. 11th is d10 to attack, 2 d10 to damage, and then at 17th level, it's d12 to attack, 2d12 to the damage roll. So it scales up in size as you progress. 3rd level, you get Born to the Saddle, which basically works as it did before. You have advantage on saving throws to avoid falling off your mount. If you do, land on your feet if you fell only 10 feet or less and aren't incapacitated. And mount and dismount are only 5 feet of your move action instead of half. Also, quick note, action, move, and bonus action have slightly changed to be standard action, move action, and bonus action. So move action just basically means anything you can do with your movements, and there's certain things that can use the move action instead. It's just a slight terminology change. And then standard attack coming back as terminology for your normal action. It's back just to avoid confusion. That's really it. 7th level, we have Warding Strike while you're wielding a shield and or a melee weapon. So that now has the interception fighting style wording. Whenever you are a creature in 5 feet of you would be hit by an attack roll, you can use reaction to roll d8, add it to the target's AC against that attack. If it still hits, they have resistance to the damage of the attack. Whenever your superiority dice increase in size, the size of this reaction's die also increases to that size. Con uses per long rest. Also, no, I am probably never adding the prof bonus because I absolutely hate that. You should care about a secondary stat, and here you go. For races, I'm fine with it. For classes, almost never. There's stats you care about. Use that instead. 11th level, you have Hold the Line. You have plus con to the attack rolls for melee attacks made as part of a reaction. So, basically, your Unwavering Mark special attack, as well as opportunity attacks, count as reaction attacks. You can get others, and it's also just melee attacks in general. So, theoretically, you can also use this with Shocking Grasp and Warcaster and other similar spells. Basically, if it's a melee attack, you can get the plus con to attack rolls. 15th level, Ferocious Charger. Once per turn, move at least 10 feet in a straight line towards a creature and make a melee weapon attack against it. You deal plus con damage on hit, and it must make a strength save using combat superiority DC, or be knocked prone. So basically, it's kind of what it was before, except it calls out combat superiority DC because you have that now. Then 20th level, Vigilant Defender. You get an extra reaction on every turn except your own, in addition to the normal reaction you have once per round. But it can only be used on reaction attacks or warding maneuver. Basically, quick change to this was this now works with opportunity attacks. So opportunity attacks, warding strike, and Unwavering Mark attack, all three work with Vigilant Defender. And Warcaster does as well. But that's just how I've worded it so far. Could change in the future, but as of now, that's how it works. That's actually wrong highlight. It's red. Yeah, it was. Changing the format mistakes. Battlemaster. Hello, old friend. So yeah, at first level, you only have combat superiority and Student of War. Student of War, of course, gives an Artisan's Tool, Proficiency, and History or Insight. Whereas, I forgot to mention the bonus proficiency is Cavalier, which is extra language plus animal handling, history, insight, or persuasion. But Battlemaster, History, Insight, Artisan Tool. They also have combat superiority, which base rules exactly the same. However, you start with 4 superiority dice, and then eventually get up to 6, whereas Cavalier just gets up to 5. And you start with 3 maneuvers, and whenever you learn new maneuvers, you get 2 instead of 1, so it goes 3, 5, 7, 7, 9, 11. So, I just realized that sounded bad, but anyway. So at 20th level, you have 11 maneuvers now, and at 15th, you get 9. 11th, you have 7. 3rd, you have 5, and starting off, you only have 3, but it picks up, to say the least. So, yeah, you're just better with maneuvers. You can use them more, and all that. So, 3rd level, Know Your Enemy. Works pretty much the same as it did. So, let's see if they have their superior, equal, or inferior. Now, I actually added in proficiency bonus number of ways. So, once you get past to, I believe, 17th level, yeah, 17th, you're able to do all but one of these. So, it is how it is. 7th level, say hello to Style Strike. This is a new feature I added on to kind of give them a bit more oomph in terms of their abilities and set them apart now, beyond what they had before. So, once per short or long rest, you can use a special attack based on the 2 fighting styles you have. So, keep in mind, you will actually have access to 2 of these. So, Originally, I thought about making it just your primary, but I decided to make it both so you have an option. Archery. While wielding a ranged weapon, make an attack with that weapon that ignores long-range penalty and can crit on a roll 1 lower than normal. That's just a new terminology thing to let stuff like that stack. Some, not all things that will do that stack now. So this one, for example, stacks. So by default, this is 19 or 20 crit. But if you already have that, it makes it 18 to 20. It's a crit. Just some fun shenanigans to add. And also, almost all of these, they replace one of your normal attacks. So if you use extra attack, you can use, say, archery, style strike, and you still make a normal weapon attack. Dueling style. While wielding a single weapon in hand and you aren't using a shield, that is a change to dueling, is that no longer allows a shield. Make an attack roll with that weapon. Make an attack with that weapon with plus prof to the attack roll. So basically with expertise, but not actually expertise. Great weapon. While wielding a two-handed weapon, might cut the ability to use this with reach. You can make an attack with that weapon that deals extra damage equal to twice your proficiency bonus on hits. Long arm. Wielding a reach weapon. Make an attack that on hit also slides the target, which push, pull, slide is also returning. Slide is basically move them in any direction you want, including forwards, backwards, or sideways. But in the case of long arm, you have to slide it to a space within your reach. So that means within 10 feet. But the distance you slide the target is 5 times your proficiency bonus feet. So starts off at just 10. Actually, no, it actually starts off at 15 feet. But then eventually gets up to 30 feet slide. But it still has to stay in your reach, though, so it doesn't get too crazy, at least. Protection. While wielding a weapon and shield, make an attack with the weapon that also stuns the target until the start of your next turn on hit. Basically decided that since this is a one-use feature, it's just an auto stun. But you know, the other stuff is like adding to the attack roll or damage roll or making it crit more. So, yeah, it's kind of fair. Do weapon fighting, meanwhile, while wielding I'm going to specify while dual wielding 2 weapons. You make 2 attacks with each of those weapons against the same target instead of just one. Your other attacks... Oh, yeah, this is actually changed. So basically, so you can target a specific creature, and then you make 2 attacks against the same target, one with each weapon, instead of just one attack with one of them. That's how that works. Wording is weird, but I might change how that's worded. Not entirely sure yet. But and then also your other attacks this turn can be made against other targets as normal. It's just basically for one of the attacks you would make, you make 2 attacks against the target of that attack, one with each weapon. So basically like dual strike, and it's only for one attack though, but it's still an extra attack you get against a single target. And then defense, a wielding weapon and you're wearing armor or have a shield, you make an attack with that weapon and gain THP, temporary hit points, equal to 2 times your proficiency bonus. So Kind of the most boring bonus, but defense isn't meant to be as interesting as others. 11th level, you now have Adaptive Battle. Your weapon attacks ignore resistances to all types of physical damage. So physical damage is a term that's coming in. Basically, bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage is physical damage. So, and there's also the new bleed type. And so Adaptive Battle, no matter what enemy you're facing, your weapon attacks ignore resistance to physical damage. And they also treat immunities to physical damage as resistances normally would be. So basically, creatures immune to slashing damage instead take half damage from your slashing attacks. But if it has resistance, then deal damage as normal. Kind of it's a buff that it's there. It has its uses. But it's still like, 15th level, Relentless. Roll initiative with no superiority dice left. Regain 2 superiority dice. Change that from 1 to 2, but kind of hones in the idea that, yeah, you really care about superiority dice. 20th level, Master of Battle. You can use maneuvers without using superiority dice. Only using a d6 instead of a d12. You can also use any number of maneuvers per turn, but you can only expend 1 superiority dice per turn, and you can only use 1 maneuver per attack. So basically, you can still only use... So, like, if you make 2 attacks, then you can use 2 maneuvers, but only one of them can be using one of your d12 superiority dice. So... basically, this was kind of like to upgrade you, but also not make it super absurd. So you can't just stack, like, precision attack with another as well on the same attack, and you can only expend superiority dice once per turn. Last but not least, we have the Eldritch Blade. So, first level, we have Battlecaster, which is a special kind of feature, Spellcasting, and Weapon Bond. Battlecaster. So, when you're choosing fighting styles, you may choose the Battlecaster style, Wizard, instead of another. This basically just means, hey, you have access to magic, so you have the ability to choose Battlecaster style. As for why Wizard is in quotations, that will be revealed when we look at Battlecaster. But basically that just determines the class that Battlecaster is associated with. So it's different for everyone who gets it, but as an Eldritch Blade, for you, Battlecaster is associated with Wizard spells. Spellcasting, similar to before, however, you get it first level now. You go further with it thus far. This is subject to change. Right now, I think it's almost identical to half-casters, which I think I'm going to change. I'm probably going to change this to kind of change things up a little more, make sure you're clearly not supposed to be a dedicated spellcaster. You're not even supposed to be a half caster. You're supposed to be a third caster. But there are 2 important changes. First off, and this is the deal for spellcasting, so it's still intelligence is your spellcasting ability modifier, focus, arcane focus, or a bonded weapon. This is just a fun change, just a change that's like, yeah, this just makes sense. You no longer need to worry about having an arcane focus or certain feats. yeah, your bonded weapon works as an arcane focus by default. Simple as that. Spell list, same as wizard. However, this is the big change. The spell school lock that exists on Eldritch Knight and Arcane Trickster as well for Rogue, that has been removed. However, it still says Eldritch Blades typically focus on evocation and abjuration spells, but spells of any school can be chosen. Yeah, this is just a change to be like, yeah, make what you want, but it is suggested that you use evocation and abjuration. Here's your spell table. You get new cantrips at 6th and 13th level. So you start with 2, then you end with 4. You know only 2 spells to start, and you learn more every 2 levels. So you start with 2 and end with 11 thus far, and then every 4 levels, every 4 levels is how that calculates to. You get an extra level of spells. And then new spell slots, you only get extra spell slots of a level you have when you get the next level of spells. So you don't get your next first level spell slot until 5th level when you get 2nd level spell slots. You don't get another of those until 9th when you get 3rd. You don't get another of those until you hit 13th and get 4th. You don't get another of those until you hit 17th and get 5th level spell slots. This is subject to change, but that is currently how it works. As of now. Subject, major caveat that this is subject to change. Do not expect it to be the same. Weapon bond. Spend an hour to do ritual, part of short rest, creating a bond between you and a weapon of your choice you're holding for the ritual's duration while weapons bond to you. You can use a bonus action to teleport the weapon to or from a pocket dimension in the space between realities. So this is basically a change that's like, hey, you can, instead of it has to be on the same plane, it's just like, oh, it's in a pocket dimension now, and you can teleport it to and from this dimension, and you can also swap places with another weapon in the pocket dimension. So let's say you have a long bow and a greatsword. You can use a bonus action to switch between the 2 weapons and basically teleport. If you have the longbow out, you teleport it into the pocket dimension and teleport the greatsword into your hand. And it even says potentially swapping places with another of your bonded weapons. Bonded 2 weapons. And yeah, just other stuff. And whenever you cast a damaging spell through your bonded weapon, you can change the spell's range and area depending on the weapons used. So spells that don't target an area cast through a ranged weapon use the weapon's range instead of their own. Melee spell attacks become ranged spell attacks. Spells that don't target an area cast through a melee weapon use the weapon's reach instead of their own. And ranged spell attacks become melee spell attacks. So basically, you're able to use ranged spells as if they were melee if you're using a greatsword, or use melee spells as a ranged spell if you're using a bow, or a longbow specifically, for the example I have. And then spells that target an area cast through a ranged weapon use the weapon's range instead of their own to determine the center point. Spells that don't target an area cast through a melee weapon use you to determine the center point and don't affect you. So basically, center point just means where the middle of it is. So if it's like a 20-foot cube, then the cube extends 10 feet around you. Or if it's like a fireball and it's 25-foot area, then it's in a 25-foot area. I might have cones and lines aren't... Yeah. But cones and lines aren't affected. Aren't affected by this alteration. There we go. So basically, like, cones and lines aren't affected, but your fireball is affected by whether you're using melee or ranged weapon. So if you're using a ranged weapon, the center point could be within that weapon's range. If it's a melee weapon, though, it's centered on you, but you can basically explode out and it doesn't affect you, basically. Third level, improved bond. When you make a ranged weapon attack with a bonded weapon, it either returns to your hand if it's a thrown weapon. Otherwise, you can conjure mundane ammunition from thin air to fire that vanishes afterwards if it's not thrown. Melee bonded weapons can't be disarmed. So basically just a, like, fluff feature that's like nothing too special, but you don't have to spam the teleport to keep your thrown weapon in hand. Mystic Strike, meanwhile, attacks with your... at 7th level. Attacks with your bonded weapon deal force damage in addition to their other types and always count as magical. After casting a spell that deals damage of a type other than force or your bonded weapon's normal type, you can exchange Mystic Strike's force damage with that damage type until the start of your next turn. So basically, and the second part's just fluff, but like if you cast a fireball, then Mystic Strike's damage is now fire until the start of your next turn. 11th level, you have Eldritch Strikes. Whenever you hit a target with an attack using a bonded weapon, first spell you cast on that target I'm going to add before... I don't want the caps. Before the end of your next turn, either has plus strength or dex on the attack roll, or the target has minus strength or dex on the saving throw. So basically, and this basically means that whatever attack stat you use, like strength for greatsword, dex for a longbow, we're just going to stick with those two weapons because why not, is either like added to your attack roll, or target has that minus that to their saving throw. So like if your strength and dex are +3, then if you cast like Chromatic Orb, then you have plus strength on the attack roll if you used a greatsword. But if you're using, let's say, Mind Sliver, then with the longbow, then they have minus dex to their saving throw. So -3. 15th level, Arcane Charge. Whenever you use an action surge, which you have 3 of now, you can teleport a total of 30 feet before and or after the extra standard action. So basically, you now can split the teleport, so it's not just 30 feet before or 30 feet after. You could do like 10 before, 20 after, or 30 after, or 15 before, 15 after. Any combination within the total you can do is 30 with each action surge. 20th level, Spell Sword Mastery. Your weapon attacks and damaging spells made and cast with your bonded weapons deal an extra d8 plus int damage of Mystic Strike's current damage type. So by default, this is force, but If you've just cast a fireball, then it's fire damage. And do note, as of now, this is, if you're like casting a fireball and Mystic Strike is currently force, then the extra damage would be force. Then afterwards, Spell Sword Mastery changes to fire, because it's after casting the spell. So it's currently how it's worded. Might change, but I'm happy with it as is. Now you will notice the attack after casting cantrips and using spell slots is gone. Don't worry. We'll just go over to base fighting styles and go. This is work in progress, and these are separate, so I'm probably going to show them in a different video, but I'm going to show this because it's important. Battlecaster. Yeah, so Adept feature at 6th level, or 10th if you have it as your second. Whenever you cast a damaging or healing spell of 1st level or higher as a standard action, you can make one weapon attack as part of that action. And I decided to specify, if you have the extra attack feature, damaging cantrips also trigger this ability. Also, Battlecaster, you learn 2 cantrips from a class determined by the class you got this style from. You can use weapons you're proficient with as a casting focus. Doesn't matter to Eldritch Blade, but it's there. It's mostly for Paladin and Ranger. Which, yeah, this is actually replacing Druidic Warrior and Blessed Warrior for Ranger and Paladin, respectively. So, for Eldritch Blade, this means you get 2 Wizard cantrips. So you would actually start with 4 cantrips. But also, last feature, whenever you cast a spell as a standard action, +1 AC until the end of your next turn. Maneuvers are here as well. They're also going to be on another class. Nothing really changed. There's just 11 new maneuvers. We'll show them off another day. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Without further ado, see y'all next time. Halo Zoo, out.